I get the editing, I don't want to add this part into the Broncos situation. So, Broncos, Jeff, Broncos. I'm gonna let you kick this one off, bro. 5-12 last season. Um, did they to you? Did they have high expectations? I don't think so. I think
Last
that
year or this year?
last year, I think that the owners they were transitioning the ownership group, and I don't think that they wanted to put too much pressure on Hackett, but it just was so lousy. They had no choice to do but to do what they did, and nobody blames them for it. They actually let the guy stick around 5 weeks too long. So it's just I think that they got a fresh start immediately. Third coach in 3 years. You know what I mean? It's kind of oh man, what are we doing here, Denver? Because Denver don't get down like this, Jeff. The three coaches in 3 years, you've never seen Denver be this complacent as a team ever. But as I just said, they're transitioning owners. You're getting out of the Pat Bowlen era and you're entering this new corporate era. They were more of a family ran team. Now they're more of a corporate ran team. Jeff, I'm gonna let you kick it off. What are your thoughts on the Broncos going into this season?
If we were doing this segment in June or July, I would have a different tone. I was expecting higher expectations with the addition of Sean Payton, the emergence, or let's say rebirth, of Russell Wilson. And then in the offseason and the OTAs and the practices, Tim Patrick goes down. A couple other wide receivers go down. They just traded one of their tight ends. It's a team in turmoil. Javonte Williams, I'll flip it to fantasy. I do like Javonte Williams. He is healthy again, should be starting week 1. They added Samaje Perine from Cincinnati, a good backup. I think my man crush this year was Jerry Jeudy. In some of my earlier drafts, had him everywhere, and then he gets hurt. And initially, it sounded like it was a bad hammy pull. It's not that bad. I expect him to miss a few weeks. Could have been worse. So they're down to Cortland Sutton, maybe some Marvin Mims. Defense has issues as well. So my expectations have been let's say, slowed down here. I am not as high on Russell or anything here. Their 5-12 season of last year, I think they beat that. Do they get to 500 this year? I do not expect. I think they're in that 7 to 8 win season. Depends on how quick Jeudy comes back, if he does stay healthy. In a tough division. But again, as we just did the NFC West, I think the Raiders will be far enough at the bottom, and I could be totally wrong on this, with Denver, that the emergence, there'll be a 1-2 and then a definite drop off with the 3-4 with Denver and the Raiders. But I'd say about a 7 or 8 win team tops here, Pops.
All right. Well, you know what? I like the thinking in that, and then you see where they're at. They're giving them over under 8.5, 6-1, because they're confident, but that confidence comes from having Russell Wilson. It's that simple. Let's not, Russell Wilson, doesn't matter what you think about Russell Wilson. I was arguing with people like literally every day about Russell Wilson. Oh, he's a punk and he's a this and he's that. Man, Future had his girl first. Who cares? Dude, who cares? Like, literally, who cares? That guy's like the perfect person ever. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like everybody, if you want to really use somebody as a role model for young black children, it's Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? It has to be Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? And Russell Wilson would be a leader in anything he does in life. You know what I mean? Not just being a quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He could be the mayor of Denver if he wanted to be. He could be, the captain of the Texas Rangers right now if he wanted to be. You know what I mean? That's how definitive, and that's how much of a great leader Russell Wilson is. And I know a lot of people's like, he must be the leader of the Russell Wilson fan club. Oh, Russ pisses me off just as much as he pisses off the rest of the world. But I respect him as a man first, though. And he's one of the people that I do feel like is one of the better role models in the league. And I felt like he was trying to put his winning ways on the Broncos, but it kept getting interrupted by a coach who didn't know what he was doing. And the coach literally looked at Russell to coach the team. I don't think anybody wanted to bring that up or say that, but I always saw Russ in the middle of even defensive huddles talking to the defense, in the middle of an offensive line huddle, in the middle of a wide receiver huddle, because he's literally coaching the team. Nobody ever mentions this, but when a guy's talking to everybody a bit too much and we keep losing the game, he's literally doing the coach's job for him while your coach is sitting over there with his arms folded, looking like a total dunce. So Denver was a team that did not look like their usual selves. They looked like a totally different team last year. They looked like they were the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know what I mean? That type of mentality and attitude going into the game. We don't even know what we're doing. And that was terrible. That reminded me of the Browns when they went winless. We don't know what we're doing today, coach. And that's pretty bad. You know what I mean? And so I feel like with Sean Payton, you bring stability. That's exactly what they brought with Sean Payton, is a stable coach. And I feel like with that, what you do is in this situation, you really play up the veteran coach, veteran quarterback, and this could be their revenge season. They have a lot of good things working out in their favor, in my opinion, right now. And I feel like when it comes down to it, when I keep talking about best coaches and best this, that, and the third, in this division, it's about the best combination. It's about the best coach with the best quarterback. And, we got a lot of really good combinations here. Staley is still probably Staley's still a guy that's getting it. But when you look at the dynamic of Sean Payton and Russell Wilson coming together as a duo, you get really excited. And you tell yourself, you look at the defense and you tell yourself that, you know what, this is a top 10, top 5 defense. And this defense can be the reason why this team can still be a successful team this season. But that's going to have to truly be their calling card. You just called it out right now, Jeff. They lost 2 key receivers. Even though Judy's going to play, he's going to be good. He's an Alabama guy. They're tough. But Tim Patrick, you lose him again for the second year in a row. That's tough. But I think possibly knowing Sean Payton, he has some type of receiver there that ain't nobody talking about. And then they have a tight end there as well, too. I can't think of his last name right now, but their tight end is going to be one of the top tight ends in the NFL coming up next season because, Russell, that became Russell's favorite target. And
Greg
Dulcich.
Greg Dulcich.
Yeah, Greg Dulcich. And he runs beautiful. I think he's a better route runner than Kittle, to be honest with you. And that's a weapon right there. So losing Tim Patrick is not going to be as that big of a loss because they have the right type of tight end in place. And, Russell has always thrived with really good tight ends. So with the Broncos, I'm not going to say for their fan base it's time to get excited, but I'm going to say that, you know what, help is on the way. And you're not going to duplicate what happened last season. You're not going to be a 5-12 team again. That's not going to happen. Throw that out right now. You know what I mean? So this is a team that we do have to, say, hey, they're pretty capable of being, a surprise dark horse team that can possibly steal this division. 6-1 is a beautiful number. And they got the quarterback that can lead them to the promised land. If you got the leader, anything is possible. You know what I mean? Anything is possible, Jeff. Final thoughts?
No, I had high expectations. I was expecting a bounce back from Russ with the addition of Peyton. Peyton's coming in again, and he's getting rid of all the trash. He's bringing in his people, and it takes a year or two to regurgitate and get back up to speed. Don't forget, Sean was in the booth for a while. He wasn't losing anything in his fastball when he was with the Saints. So now he's bringing it to Denver. Again, losing Patrick 2 years in a row. Again, the addition of Marvin Mims, that's the guy that you're looking for as Cortland Sutton is over there as well. But, you're going to have to lean on a few guys, Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine, until Judy gets back up to speed. And you're going to need some help from the defense as well. And they're in a division with three offensive teams with Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Raiders. They're going to be able to put up a lot of points. And I think Sean's not going to want to go to these games and be playing first 1 to 30 wins. He wants to, 24-23, 21-20, especially at home. He doesn't want to get into these shootouts because Russ isn't that Russ right yet. Not that he can't be, but Denver will be at their best when they keep teams under 23 points, Pops.
And I totally agree with that statement right there. I think that we are on to this is possibly one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. It's not tougher than the AFC North, but it's going to be, you going to it's always tough going to Denver. Well, come on, let's keep it real. Any team that plays in the AFC West knows Denver is the toughest spot to go to. You know what I mean? Kansas City thinks they are, but no. I think Denver's much more tougher because you're going against elevation and you're going against screaming, loud, passionate fans who don't care what their record are. They love their Broncos. All right, so let's move on. And I'm gonna let Jeff kick it off because he loves his team so much. It's just he's just such a fan of these guys. I've covered 2 Super Bowls, had to be here with them, get to know them a little bit. But you know what though? I am a fan of the Hunt family. I will give you that. I love Clark and my boo, his daughter. Let's go. But that's for later terms. But hopefully future sugar mama's over there and everything. But let me shut up because hopefully she don't watch the show and see me talking like that. But man, love that family right there. So Jeff, go ahead and kick a little something like this. Give us your thoughts on the beloved Kansas City Chiefs.
Listen, for 2 decades, not one, but 2 decades, I got to put up with the BS of the chicken or the egg. In Bill we trust, the greatest, exactor in the history of the NFL with Bill and Tom and Bill. Well, there's a part 2 coming, and Pat's Nation is very nervous because the Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes father-son combination is on path maybe to beat Bill and Tom here. What can you say about this Chiefs team? It doesn't matter. They lose Juju, they lose Tyreek. It doesn't matter. It's just next man up. And again, they have the one and only Mr. Patrick Mahomes. Love him or hate him, doing less commercials, Pops, just for you. Offensively, it's one of these things that you're going to look at the stat sheet after the first quarter, and Pat's going to be 9 for 11 with 8 different completions to 8 different guys who you don't even know, whether it's Richie, whether it's Rashee Rice, whether it's Sky Moore, whether it is Kadarius Toney, Travis Kelce, CEH, Jared McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco. The list is endless, and they're a team. And yes, Arrowhead Stadium is one of the toughest, loudest places to go. Andy Reid, hands down right now, if you took a poll right now, is the best coach in the NFL. Love or hate him there. There is, I was going to say a changing of the guard, but that's the wrong answer because I don't think there will be a changing of the guard. Will they be 14-3 this year? Probably not. Maybe they get picked off 4 times. Maybe they're 13-4. Will they win the division this year? Most likely, I say yes. If they don't, well, we'll be talking about another team that could maybe surpass them, but I don't think they'll surpass them in the regular season, maybe in the playoffs. But it's the Chiefs. They go as far as Mahomes and Kelce. Kelce is that cog in fantasy land, going in the first round, going early. Baby Gronk, whatever you want to call him, he just keeps on going. And that's the one piece, other than Mahomes, of course, that has to stay healthy. and that's Mr. Kelsey. The defense is good. Got still a holdout, but again, sneaky in the fantasy world. But Pops, until Pat, Andy, and Travis are not the trifecta, the 1-9 trifecta at Santa Anita, they got the bullseye on them. And I'm saying in this division, but because the AFC, as we know, is loaded this year, I'm not taking the Chiefs currently. We'll have our picks next week. Gun to my head right now, I don't have the Chiefs coming out as the AFC. I'll just leave it there.
All right. Well, you don't have the Chiefs coming out the AFC, but pretty much, man, you know me, and I'm not going to dog them out. I'm going to give them. I'm going to give them their props. Yeah, I'm going to give them their props. Beautiful stuff what they did in the Super Bowl last year. Isaiah Pacheco, awesome player. He brought a new element to the team that was very key to winning that game, and a lot of people will not talk about it, but I'll talk about it. I thought Pacheco's effect on the game literally put them over the top to win that game. Sky Moore, another guy who came out of nowhere and had a big moment in that game. Also, Kadarius Toney, a guy who had some struggles and had some issues going on. He wound up having a big moment in that game as well too. Juju Schuster, who they lost, wound up being the best receiver in the clutch in that game. And Pat Mahomes, to me, had grown up as a NFL player. And I know everybody say, "What do you mean, grown up as an NFL player?" He grew up. He made sure that he took the game seriously. He didn't do any of the fancy stuff. He didn't do any of the Harlem Globetrotter moves. He didn't do any of that like he did in the first two Super Bowls. He went about his business, and he saw that, you know what, first half we're in a tough game, and these guys can absolutely destroy us right now if I don't put my head on this swivel and get it done. And then he performs one of the greatest opening drives of a second half that you'll ever see. They ran like 20 plays, and literally you knew right then and there that, okay, this guy is serious about what he's doing, and he's not a robot, and he's can show that he can be one of the biggest guns in the West, and he can show that he can be one of the best managers in the game. And everything came to fruition, and I have to give him his absolute props on that. Also, the defense stepped it up huge that day. Chris Jones still looking for his money, but he was a big part in them being very successful in containing Jalen Hurts in that second half as well too. So there was a lot of things that showed you that Kansas City was a great overall team. It's not one guy. It's not just the coach. It's everybody. And that's what makes them special year in and year out since Patrick Mahomes has gotten there. Well, really since Andy Reid has gotten there. That everybody literally loves playing for this team. You've never heard anybody have real complaints about playing for the Chiefs except for Tyreek Hill. But Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. Come on, dude. You know what I mean? He's another AB type. He's a diva. You know what I mean? So you're gonna get that. You know, he's not as crazy as AB. I don't think, but you know what I mean, y'all. Y'all know what I mean. So Kansas City is the type of team that is gonna keep you comfortable. It's that simple. And they're a team that, when you look at everything going into this season, it should probably come into play. It should possibly happen. It shouldn't be an issue. It should be there. It should be what it is. You know what I mean? But you still have a division to win. You're not guaranteed to win this division. And we all know how they looked in the first 6, 7, 8 games. They at one point they even had a losing record for just a week, but still they had a losing record. And you know, will they be a slow starter this year? I don't think they can afford a slow start this year. Not in this AFC West. You know, you just can't. And those gimme games that they slipped up on, they're going to have to win those games because those games can prove critical down the road because they're not going to just go out and just blow the doors off of the top teams in the NFL this year. They have one of the biggest targets you could ever have for a team on their backs going into this season. Them in Philadelphia might, I've never felt like teams have had targets this big because they damn near played the game to perfection last year, both squads. And that's why I feel like everybody had to step their game up, step their level up a little bit, and make sure that they have deeper rosters. And that's how you can compete with a team like Kansas City. But I truly do feel that Kansas City is dealing with possibly the most difficult season that they've had with Pat Mahomes in the AFC West because this is a division with a lot of teams with a sour taste in their mouth about the Chiefs. Guys are starting, or guys is getting tired of just getting beat up by the Chiefs. Every year now, and Mahomes is a guy that is got a little cute now, and so now he feels like he can just say what he wants to anybody in the division. And everybody kind of caught that last year, and teams remember that. Great defensive players remember that. So this season is not going to be one of these. Okay, we're going to walk into the game and beat them by 30. They're going to really have to fight and claw for these wins because they did lose some pretty good players on the back end who were very vital to winning that Super Bowl as well too. So we will see. And we know that this team has not went back to back either, the Super Bowl. And well, they did the first time. Let me stop. Yeah, they did the first time. But going back to the Super Bowl is much tougher than it is getting to the first Super Bowl. And I think that a lot of people have to understand 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, that is tough to duplicate, and that's already a big accomplishment in itself. So this is going to be one of their tougher seasons because the game film is out, and it's not like they don't know what's coming, and they don't have, to me, that superior piece like they've had with a Tyreek Hill. Kelsey's getting a little bit older and a little bit too besides himself. You beating up teammates at practice and stuff. Now, it's getting a little out of hand. You're more worried about the podcast than the game, So there's a lot of things kind of catching up with the Chiefs' ego, and hopefully they won't be too egotistical and find themselves back into the same shape that they are in every year.
You know what makes them more difficult? You said a lot, and what I do want to applaud you for, and I think you're spot on, is that Super Bowl, that second half. I think Patrick became that. In other words, a lot of people hated him. They hated the style, the schoolyard mentality. Here he goes, he wins a Super Bowl, then he gets steamrolled with no offensive line, a bad ankle, comes back. A Super Bowl where the Eagles played the perfect first half and just flipped the switch. They were 1 quarter away from winning the Super Bowl. And Pat did the same thing to the Eagles that he did to San Fran. Same exact thing. He was down going in the fourth quarter. So my point, what makes them more difficult this year, Pops? Again, you said there was no Tyreek Hill. He was gone last year. Well, what do? They just get rid of Juju. They just the Richies of the world, the Rices of the world, the MVSs of the world. You don't know who it is. That's the whole thing. You got Kels, you got Mahomes, you got a 3-headed backfield. You just don't know what wide receiver it is. It's not Tyreek to the mailbox. So this Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes bonding, watching them in preseason on the sidelines with the headband, applauding everyone. He's not that spoiled brat. He's not that diva. I think he's really accepting the role. And the fact is, I think that they're just getting better each year. Not that, again, they can be beat. But in the playoffs, if that kid's got the ball with time, go to the Bills game 2 years ago. If he's got time, he's going to find a way. That's all.
Yep. And I just really feel like defenses have to figure out how they're going to really defend this guy this year. And how do they go about their business? You see that you saw that the division literally invested in defense this year. The Raiders made their top pick defensive end. You know what I mean? And you look at Denver. Denver is always defense, has been defensive heavy for a while now. And the Chargers you already know the Chargers got the best probably got the best two bookends in the NFL when healthy. And that's one of the more dangerous elements. And you know what? Since we're talking about the Chargers, we're going to go ahead and wrap this on up on the Chiefs real quick. We've said enough. We can sit here and talk about the Chiefs for the next 2 hours, probably, because they're that good. All right. Okay, Jeff. So you got it out of me. All right, man. I wasn't the big juicy hater that you was expecting today, but we ain't started the season yet either. So we'll see. You know what I mean?
But let me just interject. I mean, again, they get the spotlight with Detroit, who is America's team this year with Dan Campbell. They're coming in on a Thursday night. They've blessed the Lions with the only game in town next Thursday. 6.5 point dogs. Good game, under over right around 54. I mean, it's going to be a fun game. Is it going to be 30-24 final? Do you keep that Kansas City team under 30 with a shot to win? I mean, I don't think Detroit's going to go in and score 30 in Kansas City. So again, it's going to have to be defense first. It's going to be a fun game for sure, Pops.
Well, there it is. There it is. All right. So I can't wait. And see, Jeff's just jumping the gun. But I jumped the gun too because I started talking about a game. I started talking about the Commanders and Cardinals game. Now Jeff's talking about next Thursday's game. That's how excited we are for the first episode, 4th season of NFL Betting Shades, I guess, right? That we can't wait to talk about these games and break them on down. So pretty much and now let's go back to my neck of the woods. But you know what? They play in SoFi Stadium. They're a renter of SoFi Stadium, but we know who they belong to. We know where their heart's at. And we call them the LA Chargers. But you know what? We begrudgingly still call them the San Diego Chargers. Shout out to our boy Craig Meddy. You already know, a real San Diegoan. And shout out to Hodge, miserable SD fan. You know how many Padre buddies I got? I got more Padre buddies on Twitter than I have Dodger buddies. It's hilarious to me. And when they won last year, it was just so hard to even deal with them because they were so brutal. Like, damn, man, y'all really don't like us that much. What did we ever do to y'all? You know what I mean? So that's fun. But I just had to do that because I know that they're still San Diego's team. Let's keep it real. They went 10-7 last year. Their best record under Staley. It was Herbert's best record to finish up a season as well too. And they finished like a house on fire. Let's keep it real. This team was I think 6-7 at one point, and they went ahead and they won their last 4 games of the season. They won their last 5 out of 6 games to get into the playoffs. And at first you kept being like, oh, look at the Chargers. They win one week, they lose the next week, they win 2 in a row, then they lose 2 in a row. See, the Chargers always catch back up with themselves. And literally that second half of the season, they became a different team. They became a team that you could trust. They became a team that you really got excited to watch week in and week out. And Justin Herbert has really ascended to being the top passer in this league. When you look at the numbers tell you that nobody's better than Justin Herbert when it comes to the stats in the NFL. On a projection and in his short time of being in the NFL. This guy has literally been a true asset to a team that was dying for this type of quarterback. You know what I mean? And they have positioned him in the right way. They took a note out of the Bengals playbook and they said, you know what? We could draft a defensive lineman. We could draft a linebacker. We could draft a defensive back because we do need some defensive help. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and go get who we feel was the best receiver on the board. Quentin Johnson, a guy that absolutely balled at TCU. And they said, we have to go get him because we have to get a third option for our quarterback, a viable third option, not a guy that's just somebody we drafted in the 5th round and he plays well because, he got some open looks. Quentin Johnson's a guy that can absolutely take over as a starter if somebody gets hurt. And I think Darius Davis is going to be the X factor for this group. They finally gave him a Tyreek Hill type. Now you thought it was going to be Guyton, but Guyton's not durable enough. But you have Darius Davis here, and Darius Davis is a absolute rocket. 81-yard punt return, first touch he ever had in the NFL, absolutely incredible. And then the guy that really gets you excited is Elijah Dotson because the guy hits the corner so fast and he can really accelerate. And then you got Eckler still as well too. Eckler is probably the most versatile back in the NFL, and he's a fantasy gem. We all know that. And it's just you just keep talking about the pieces. The offensive line, awesome. Their offensive line is really good. And then you got Everett, who's probably a top 10 tight end quietly. Nobody says that, but he has some of the best hands at the position out of anybody. And then I just mentioned it not too long ago. You got the best bookends in all of football. And one side is Joey Bosa, the other side is Khalil Mack. Both these guys have done historic things on the field. If they both can stay healthy for 80% of the season, the Chargers literally are a top 5 defense. That's not even up for debate, and we know that. And they're gonna need Derwin James to be big this year, and they're gonna need J.C. Jackson to play up to his contract as well too. That's the one part with the Chargers that you get a little worried about is how they look on the back end. It's not about how they look on offense, and it's not about how they look in the front seven. It's about how they look in the back end. So there's a lot of things that you are questioning with the Chargers, but there's a lot of things that you see in a positive way with the Chargers that have them leaning towards being the team to beat in the AFC West this year and possibly the team to beat in the AFC if everything can fall into place. But the Chargers are a team that always has to deal with the injury bug. So we're going to see. We're going to see. But Jeff, go ahead and give me your thoughts. I know I just gave you a mouthful. I know it looks like I'm probably the biggest Charger backer ever, but I've evaluated every single one of these teams, and I just don't see much wrong with the Chargers. I just don't. And when you have the type of quarterback that they have, it puts you on another level. I'm sorry. It just does. So your thoughts?
Well, again, this reminds, if you look at the numbers, it's the same as Seattle. So again, if you liked the dog in the West with Seattle, well, you better come over here and do the same here. I was all smiles because, again, I talked to you backstage. At one point, Herbert was 9-1 to be the NFL MVP. In fantasy, if you don't grab the top 3 or 4, I think this is your guy. Now, what happens here very simply is Austin Eckler caught like 112 balls or something stupid last year. Versatile, 107 maybe it was. So versatile. He has Joshua Kelly. He's got Isaiah Spiller. You added a couple others over there. The problem is his wide receiving core, as good as they are, they can't stay healthy, whether it's Keenan Allen, whether it's Big Mike Williams. That's why they added Quentin Johnson. On defense, again, their corners are the ones that are always getting hurt. You know, you talked about James, you talked about Jackson. Again, you need a healthy Boza and Khalil, return of the Mac. I mean, I have high expectations for this team. And again, you need the perfect storm. They need to stay healthy. They're ascending in the right direction. And of course, the addition of the OC from Dallas, now Herbert's right-hand man. And again, keep that head coach from having to make stupid calls on 4th and 1 from their own 25 in the first quarter and stupidity like that. Take the 3, don't go for it, yada, yada, yada. Again, this is the team that if anyone picks off Kansas City, I think it's the Chargers this year. And again, if they don't pick them off and Kansas City does win the division, I think the Chargers will be right on their heels. And yes, I think that they're definitely making the playoffs. So put the yes on the playoffs for the Chargers, yes on the over on 9.5 on the Chargers, and you can sprinkle a little beer and pizza money on them to win the division, maybe win the AFC, and maybe we go back in history, Pops, where this Chargers team was like 18-point underdogs to San Francisco, and maybe even do an exacta of maybe San Francisco and the Chargers in the Super Bowl. Hint, hint.
Hey, that would be a fun Super Bowl right there. A lot of people would be very excited about that one, and it would be in Vegas too. And you know what would make that Super Bowl really exciting, Jeff? Is that they will be playing in the Raiders' house. So the jokes would be absolutely classic. You know what I mean? The jokes would be absolutely epic about playing in the Raiders Stadium. So, we will see. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. But the Raiders, I think they got dreams. They got dreams of playing in their stadium. But the but
No chance.
but you know
No
what?
chance.
The Raiders are nothing but the Raiders have became uh, a team that's not really even an NFL team anymore. They're actually a attraction. They're a piece of
Mhm,
entertainment because
mhm.
literally the Raiders have became Tony Bennett. Come watch the Raiders on Sunday at 1 o'clock as they play the Chargers.
Well,
You know what I
well,
mean?
well. It's like when I'm out there in Vegas in March. During the
Blue Man
hockey
Group.
season, you see all the road teams, so you know who the Knights are playing that day, whether it's the Red Wings, whether it's the Avalanche, the Bruins, or whatever. Everyone's walking around in town with the away team, and it's the same thing in the NFL. And their prices are so stupid. Never mind, you can't even park there, but that's for another show. My point is, it's the road team. It's a destination. If you're a Patriots and the Patriots are going to Vegas in November, you take a weekend out to Vegas to go check out the Patriots and Raiders, where, yeah, they have a great following, but it's not like the old, stadium where they're all dressed up. It's more corporate America. And, the road team's got 35-40% in there as well. So I can make this real quick and short and sweet for the Raiders. Very simply, it's a coach that will not be there next year. It's a wide receiver with Devontae Adams that's nicked up, that doesn't want to be there right now. It's a quarterback that they signed, Jimmy G, that the over-under should be 5 games if he's going to play more than that. I think Brian Hoyer is a backup. It's a running back, Josh Jacobs, who led the NFL in rushing last year, that held out, did get paid, who's going to rush back to get ready for week 1, who will probably be injured by week 3. They lose their tight end, Darren Waller. They add Jacoby Myers. It's a team in disarray, a defense with a lot of holes. One of the best kickers in the game was Mr. Carlson. But whatever their under-over is, I'd go under. I got them finishing last in this division. And I got Mr. Josh McDaniels coaching his last official full year in the NFL as a head coach.
Yeah, because you know what? I really feel like Josh McDaniels is a college coach. Like he
He is.
definitely is a college coach because he wants to control people and he wants to be the end all be all. He wants to be the dictator, all that good stuff. And that is fairly suited for college right there. So I would say this: if once he fails with the Raiders this year, he will probably become the head coach of Boston College. How about that? Why don't we put him on Boston College? Because Boston College would be stupid enough to bring him in right now. You know that because, well, actually, no, they have smart people there. So no, they probably wouldn't do that. I would think that, you know what, they probably would make him start a little bit down the bit of the totem pole a little bit. They'll probably put him with one of the worst teams in a conference, in a power conference, not with a top team in a power conference. You got to put him somewhere where he can really have some say, because you're not going to go to Ohio State until you're not gonna get away with what you get away with in the NFL at Ohio State. You're not gonna get away with it at Michigan. You're not gonna get away with it at any place that's a true blue blood of college football. You know what I mean? So he might want to take his services over to the local college called UNLV as well too. You know, but Raiders, you guys already know, sentimental with the Raiders. Me and the Raiders have got a great relationship. We got a back and forth relationship. I'm a LA Raiders. I was that was fun in the 90s. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. 80s as well too. Oakland, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. But Las Vegas is the Raiders just being a good, you know, historic act. It's almost like, do they have actors out here? Because the way the Raider games finish at home, it's literally like they put a script together to finish up the game because every single one of their games are close. Like every single one is close. Like you're not going to get out of that part. But the Raiders, to me, when you look at everything with the Raiders, nothing is sexy about the Raiders. 20-1 to win, 20-1 to win the division. Raiders, 20-1 to win the division. The Raiders and Cowboys are, and 49ers too, they have the type of fan bases that do not care where the team is sitting at. They will bet on you. So pretty much if they have the odds at 20-1, they're not getting any money on the Raiders because Raider fans are even with the idea that this ain't a Super Bowl year. And the Raiders are always Super Bowl or bust every single season. It don't matter what the roster is. And pretty much right now, the Raiders are in position to set themselves up to bring in their next rookie quarterback. I think that's exactly what they're doing right now. They're gonna try. They're gonna try. Okay, all right, Raider fans. It's not like they're just gonna lay down. Okay, but once we get to the point to where we know they're not gonna make the playoffs, they'll have that kid in there, the Aiden O'Connell, the rookie. They'll have him in there, and they'll probably be ready to say, "Oh, he's gonna be the next guy up for our team," and that probably won't weigh true at all. So, the Raiders are really stuck. You know what I mean? And there's not much to talk about because the Raiders are not attractive at all. There's nothing good about them. You got Jimmy G, who's at the twilight of his career. You got Josh Jacobs, who's already disgruntled, and all he's going to think about is getting that monster contract. He might have a good season. Most likely, he's not going to do well because he started the camp way too late. Running backs have to be in camp so they can get the things on them. He didn't do that. Devontae Adams has already checked out. Let's just keep it real. Devontae Adams is checked out because we've had 3 incidents with Devontae. And literally, when Devontae walked out the first preseason game, I caught what was going on. Devontae does what Devontae wants, and the Raiders, you gonna accept whatever I want. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do what I want until you get rid of me because I don't care because y'all don't care. So you have that. The Raiders have one of the worst offensive lines coming into this season as well, too. And then when you look at that defense, Crosby, I'm gonna keep it real, overrated. He's a good player. He's not a great player because he over pursues way too much for a guy who's supposed to be a top tier defensive end. He always misses the mark in a lot of games. He could probably get 7 sacks a game, but he misses the mark 6 times to get 1 sack. And that's not, to me, a great player. That's a good player that knows how to rush a passer. That's a situational player. Chandler Jones is old. Let's keep it real. And then the rest of that defense is absolutely atrocious. And if the Raiders can't play any defense, they're not going to be able to win any games. And that's been the problem for the last for pretty much the last 20 years. So if you're not going to play any good defense, then you're not going to win anything. Derek Carr wasn't your problem. Your defense was the problem. And then to back that up, your coach is even worse because he literally quit on his quarterback second half of the season. They were still chasing the playoffs. And then the guy won 6 in a row for you. And you still didn't like him. So that just goes to show you that we have a real power struggle going on with the Raiders. And we have an owner that's too busy trying to be popular with the city of Vegas. So with this, the Raiders are absolutely fried, fish fried this year. I would have said cooked, but fried's even better because they are in the deep fryer right now. And boy, oh boy, they are going to be very tasty for the rest of the AFC West and the AFC.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I mean, I enjoy doing these both Wests. I think they're kind of built similarly. I think you got the Chiefs and the Chargers, and then a drop off between Denver and obviously the Raiders. And then in the NFC, again, you have the 49ers in Seattle, and then you've got a big drop off with the Rams in Arizona. So they're built the same. I think both favorites win the divisions. 49ers in Kansas City, but I could sprinkle a plus 230 on the Chargers, and you can convince me to take a plus 230 on Seattle because the Rams in Arizona are going to be nowhere to be found. So It's going to be interesting, but again, I think we've covered now all the divisions, and I think we're set for next Tuesday. Prime time.
All right, man. We don't want to say it too much because Deanna probably bring himself out here and be like, "Hey, man, I own the rights to that," even though it's a word that's in the dictionary and pretty much is owned by television. So prime time. So pretty much it is what it is. But Jeff, thank you. I know we went over a little bit longer than we usually do, but you know what? I'm so excited about this NFL season coming up. We got college football going on today. And when I already do a show before I do another show, I can just go. So pretty much thank you very much for your time and everything like that, Jeff. And if you sat with us throughout the whole show, thank you for your time as well, too. And don't worry, I'm going to break all this up for you so you don't have to sit there and try to watch 90 minutes of us jibber-jabbering. I'll get you straight to the point. But all in all, I want to thank you guys so much. We'll be back, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
We'll be live at 10 o'clock. Or was it 9:30? Or 9:30 prep and then 10 o'clock show?
Yeah, we'll be in the studio at 9:30, 12:30 my time. We'll be live by 12:45, 1 o'clock tops.
Yep. So you guys be ready with your questions, all that good stuff. And I think possibly I don't know, maybe me and Jeff might bless you guys with a daily fantasy, on each side, see if we can kind of go at it. But we'll have to organize that a little bit more. But I'm going to let Jeff get the opportunity to give us his over-unders. I'm going to email you what I have. So then you can send me something back. So then we can both just be able to tell people about who we had overs and under wins. So, it just isn't me. You know what I mean? So pretty much, and it was going to take up another 15 minutes. So we'll just save it for the next show. So pretty much, thank you so much, Jeff. Any shots out that you want to send before we wrap this thing up?
Just everyone. It's a new year. It's a new start, fresh beginning. Me and Pops both crushed it last year. I think I was about plus 25 units. Pops was right around plus 20, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Every week is a new week. So if you have a great first week and you're walking around like you're Jimmy the Greek or something, well, the NFL can smack you down to reality real quick. So you don't want to get over your skis. You want to stay amongst your means, and if you can set a bankroll, please do. Never chase. Remember, Sundays, I call them quicksand Sundays for a reason. We'll get more into that. Enjoy the college football tonight and this weekend. On week 1, I'll be live at the BC game against Northern Illinois this week, working there. But other than that, Pops, again, excited for week 1 in the NFL on Tuesday.
All right. So I'm excited, man. I can't wait. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'll be back in about 2 hours, but I won't be on here. I will be on the radio. So you guys can listen to me and Mike Abadir on the Voice America and hear us just, rant on. Me and Mike just be up there ranting, baseball talk, NFL talks, just sports talk in general. But you guys make sure to tune in for that one as well, too. It's been a fun, exciting day, and I can't wait to get back on that one as well, too. But thank you guys so much. We'll be back on Tuesday. Make sure that you tune in. I will remind you of that as well, too. And with that, this is the NFL Bet Exchange, and we bid adieu. Toodles, and we're out of here. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by the